Okay, so tonight we have two feature readers. The first is Juniper Moon. Juniper is an artist, a writer, a letterpress printer who lives in the Willamette Valley. She believes in the power of art to save lives. See anything? All right. She believes in the power of art to save lives, one creative moment at a time. She founded Dwell Press in 2010. And also we have Pepper Trail. Pepper's poems have appeared in Rattle, the Atlanta Review, Catamaran, Ascent, and other publications, and have been nominated for Pushcart and Best of the Net Awards. His collection, Cascade Siskiyou Poems, was a finalist for the Book Award in Poetry. He writes and explores the world from his home in National Oregon. So I'm going to start with Juniper and then Pepper comes out.
Very excited to read with Pepper and have him here, and have some lovely humans that I care a great deal about. New poem, What Bowl a Noun. And I wrote this poem in response to a gift of bowls. So if it was a gift of plungers, it would be a completely different poem. What bowl a noun? The reverie alone will do, Emily Dickinson. It's not so easy to wash a bowl without a remembering. A concave, usually nearly hemispherical vessel, or the extended metaphor of a concave, usually nearly hemispherical vessel. So matter of fact, it's astonishing what can be held, what can be poured out. But what bowl? Using the loo pre-K wisp of a body on the toilet bowl, feet dangling. At the right angle, the shadow on the water of my backside rising and lowering looked like Henrietta Hippo from the show New Zoo Review, opening and closing her mouth. No matter how many times I excitedly asked for an audience for Henrietta, I watched her talk in my toilet bowl alone. Pink cereal bowl, Cheerios bobbing as we argued who would read the cereal box first and next. Tupperware bowls of popcorn while watching Animal Kingdom, wrapped and munching while trying to understand the food chain, survival of the fittest through tears and a drippy nose. Smoking a bowl before this or coming home from that to share a Coke or two. Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, Super Bowl Sunday meant the best snacks and noisy interrupted naps on the couch. Poke bowls, exotic bursts of flavor, fish and brine and vegetables pickled with fermented apple, rich grains, a bit of green onion crunch. Hans Koper's dark chocolate imaged bowl, a bird with outstretched wings above maybe a sunlight-shaped pen to a ceramic surface, simplicity in movement and form. The pelvic bowl, carried to full term, the 9-month night, 3 beautiful bodies of stardust and musk and 10 fingers and toes. Punch Bowl, Hawaii, formed thousands of years ago by hot lava through cracks. Volcanic tough cone concave now cradles about 61,000 bodies. Flat dinner plates or bowls, plates, in Denver, exotic in their curved rims, holding zucchini and carrots grated and sautéed. My then spouse telling his sister-in-law it's the best food he's ever eaten. My hands, a small bowl for my daughter to sit and find relief from the heat of the Southwest road trip, sun glaring. Crystal salad bowl filled to the brim in hues of lime green and cherry red jello with almost identifiable bits of fruit. Big blue pottery salad bowl, a wedding present from a coworker, came with a caveat. If we ever decided to give it away, it would go back to the giver. Divorce didn't count. I left it where it was in the hallway cabinet, a bowl full of empty memories. A casino of potluck gathering bowls, hedging bets on what the ingredients are, what might be edible, what might gag, where the closest discreet trash can waits. Nampeyo's Hopi bird bowl, the color of landscape and skin. For 22 years with little sight, she continued to make vessels until her last breath, had said, I close my eyes and see designs, and I paint them. Why this ridiculous happiness, like an insistent bright-souled bird seeing how everything goes together like nested bowls, soon to be placed in the dark woods of a cupboard? Like a hot blind date with a potter at a second-hand store, this leaving with a perfectly formed bowl for a pittance. No exchange of niceties or body fluids necessary, just the heart of the matter, the handwork. The begging bowl of shelved hopes, desires with outstretched hands, dusty concave waits for the right time to slink in and whistle. Bowl so economical in line and breath, as bearing a skim of water in its belly is enough for a bee to drink for many days to come. Dog bowls licked and lapped clean, an assortment of after-school snack bowls filled and refilled. The daily soup bowl never stops nourishing. Finger bowl, ramekin, sugar bowl, measuring bowl, salad bowl, mixing bowl, candy bowl, ambidextrous ingress and egress, a simpatico gaping hello and goodbye radius. The Goldfish Bowl by Henry Matisse, a large parfait of liquid and light and flamboyant fish that came to represent a serene state of mind. Dipping bowls of soy and wasabi, Japanese soup bowls cradling local berries and vanilla ice cream, twin bowls of salty chips and pistachios to go with the sweating gin and tonic, monkey dish or monkey bowl, this monkey mind to turn around the sun, this turn around the rim, this push-pull of everything is love or is seeking love, this Wedgwood bowl, a prairie, held in my two hands. 2 + 2 makes 4. A bowl is a countable noun. My gratitude is not. The Distance Between Rings. This was published on Vox Populi online. The Distance Between Rings. How perfectly I feel the noose of longing. Were I able to quiet this mind and walk into myself for 1,000 miles, perhaps I would arrive at the other side of loneliness. Those who call offer dead words when I need lightning rods in a summer storm. Day or night, this body wants light before it no longer sings, always. Come, let us sit under our words, a many-ringed tree, bodies drunk on lost time, listening to delicate leaves rustling. How large this day is, as if it had room for happiness. Possibility, two, together, slowly annihilated by gratitude. This one's for my brother. Autumnal equinox for Brad. Bird body cleft in two on dry grass, wings spread in eternal flight. Tomatillo bush, a galaxy of star-globed pattern, laced green nexus, unlit paper lanterns. A heavy sweater of newly knitted grief, grief warming grief. Plump California quail chicks hide in a huddle and scatter less. Spent tomato plants, bolted basil, bug-laced kale, dried thistles like medieval weapons. Excuse me. Acorns dropping 3 stories onto the car roof. How the seasons alter. How they dangle beautiful brevity. Right here would be good for each return. Wasp bullets, rusted sworn ferns, spotted towhee, robins, northern flickers, and song sparrows sing for the ebbing light. What eulogies we offer, what eulogies we receive. The light is fading. Who can I ask? Do owls call in their sleep? Kind of out of time order, but they're a pair in some ways. Vernal equinox, so we're shifting seasons here. Vernal equinox. One must pledge allegiance to the darkness while trailing the long arc of winter. Owls call down the valley, boots crunch in snow, a peacock feather enameled with ice glistens on the path, and the small dog shivers beside me. I can almost hear the labored breath of the winter-blown trees, sap frozen in slumber. Each one of us knows the feral noise we make when we meet loneliness face to face. Think dead hummingbird in your palm. Grief has no beginning or end. I whisper tiny vespers, light-handed scribbles of breath on night sky, but this does not make them so. It's difficult to say which is harder to carry, the shooting star or the black hole. 1.68 million breaths in an average lifetime, and the heart beats 100,000 times a day until it doesn't. Think, placing his body on the gurney, the zipper racing the length of him. The moon has her hands on everything tonight, a sweet taste of what's to come. The coyotes' gossiping cries conjure sunlit dreams, sheets drying on the clothesline, sun-warmed tomatoes bursting between tongue and palate, and dipping bare body in the river. But now, frozen soil, decaying leaves, moonlight on snow, silhouettes of trees, coyote shit on path, all mulch, as being fully alive is found in the meticulous mingling of the dead and not dead. Think verdant snowdrops faith and stem, reaching through muddled darkness, midnight snow. This one's an older one, thank you. This one's an older one. It won some kind of award. I'm just terrible about publishing. It was in Washington State. My brother's evidence I was adopted. I am not in the photograph. My 3 stone-faced siblings are lined up, knobby-kneed, homemade striped shirts, shorts that stop at the upper thigh, sewing scissor haircuts, second lice infestation style, clip, short, even too, if they're lucky. The shiny new bicycles with bells are lined up, the black and white sun glinting chrome between them, one for each. Happy handlebar tassels, silent click-clack spoke sounders. These are the real kids, he says. All the real kids in the family got one. This one, although the draft is very old, is very new, still in progress. It's about my dad, who died of Alzheimer's. A loose thread, lost off the edge of his tongue, niggling like a hair or a loose thread on his shirt hem, and he pulling the end with a quick snap only to have it unravel. Yet I am the particular thread, his DNA and eyes and hands. I see it in his eyes, how they search my face and the tilt of his head just before he asks me again, have we met before? His fingers are teasing the thread into position, finding leverage in the labyrinth of his mind. It's no use. He raises his hands and says once again, oh well, we can meet now and then I'll know you. His deep-throated chuckle comes quick and he leans and dips a shoulder just like I always remember across the distance. I keep thinking of what still connects us, how his hand shakes and teases the thread at the hem he so wants to find. I want to believe he has a sense of what still binds. I want to believe he can remember the shape of my face and the resonance of my voice so that he can lay his hand on my particular thread and follow the color back down into the tapestry of day-to-day moments. A lunch in sunlight, a perfect day at the Flight Museum. Yet right now, the tapestry is the map of the world, and every few moments he is a bright-eyed explorer, following a new thread, stepping into the unknown with heartbreaking wonder. This one is also very new, and a couple of these are connected to Lex. And I can't say it's dedicated to Lex, it's not done, it's not worthy enough for Lex, but it's getting there. Nouns and their tiny universes. It has 3 parts, and the 3rd part is about Fanny Braun's ring. 1, candlesticks. What scenes these candlesticks have lit over time. Hand-dipped candles lit rooms, warmed hands, flickered close as they tended the alien in the night. The brass bases dressed in a combustion of flame and topography of spent wax. A daily need. A hand to table, table to mantle, one generation to the next, handing off of potential light. What tragedy they've lit, what comfort they've witnessed. A constellation of experiences carried in a pair, forming boundaries between voids, where vaporized wax is holy. 2, small dog. She came to me sideways. We bonded when it was welcome but not welcome. I was her chosen person, before and after. soft, furred witness to sleeping and dreaming and crying and dancing, every remembered and unremembered moment, she was there, watching or dancing too and waiting to see what happened next. After, it was just the two of us, but a persistent remembering of all that came before, words and meals, laughter and dark nights. With her death, he died a second death. With her death, the small constellation can no longer be seen. All the moments of laughter and labored breath are silence. 3. Fanny's ring. One of 13 relics, almondine stone, round hopes for a future, present to a constellation of bright stars, dancing eyes, and sorrow. A marriage of the mind's rough estimation of what one couldn't live without. Yet he died, and she married another. Worn by Fanny until her death, the transformation from a tiny universe of no beginning and no end to trinket. What soft words must have resonated through its thin band? This is the last poem, and it is for Lex, and the title runs into the first line. Deadheading flowers comes to mind. Deadheading flowers comes to mind as I read your kind missive. I'm pinching off past peak. Deadheading flowers comes to mind as I read your kind missive. I'm pinching off past peak constellations of pistil, stamen, and petals sticky in spent delight, the leavings of being blessed by bees. They come and rollick in the goodness to be found, dress themselves in golden garb, get gobsmacked on nectar and sunlight, and move on with an almost imperceptible wobble. We are born not knowing hope or despair or the false work necessary to bridge the gap once we see ourselves in the mirror. I close my hand around the tilting limp orb and pull through to tension to where hand meets stem, where there's still enough life to resist separation. Are my words the sticky spent constellation? Are you the bee? Are these words pulling and leaving us forward in the time it takes a bee to inhale and exhale, the flower head to land in loam, your kindness to warm a forgotten room? Am I the bee on the way back to the hive? Are you the one whose hand discards the head for mulch? Is this call and response the petals, the nectar, the pollen pulling us through another day? Are your words the golden sunlight at dusk? Are we both guiding the hand onward, pulling and trusting the rhythm while rendering hope in the perennial turn-of-phrase photosynthesis? What of these words and how they speed by us without thought, or are woven into our symbiotic soma of this being human? Is it enough to hope there will be more breath of line exchanges while dancing with despair, this deadheading? Tell me, what's more reassuring than a handful of words whispered in the deep loam of night? Thank you very much. I wanted to say, and her other half isn't here, but I wanted to say a special thank you to Heidi and Ron. And Heidi is here, she's in the back, and it's not to embarrass you, Heidi. It's to say that I landed in a wonderful place a couple of Julys ago, and many of these poems were written there. And it's because of the place, the home, the love, the friendship, and the community, and also being closer to my daughter and Dan. But thank you, all three of you, and Ron. He doesn't get as big a thank you because he didn't come.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Is this loud enough for the people in the back? Yeah, it's good. I need to think, because I'm so tall. All right, I'm going to read some poems from my collections and then some newer work as well. And a lot of the poems that I write have environmental themes. And this one is about the last great gathering of passenger pigeons before the species went extinct. It's called Passenger Pigeons, Petoskey, Michigan, 1878. It's from my collection, An Empty Bowl. In the brightness of day, they came and brought darkness, spooking the cows, throwing the fields into shadow. Their wings made the sound of a dry river flooding. On and on they came, and on and on. Near dark, the bird storm broke over the northern hills, and the flocks whirled to the earth, breaking the trees. The sky had never seemed so empty as that night, filled only with silent stars. From farm to town, the word flew, the news where the millions were hidden between what folded hills, and we ran to harness our horses, snapped the reins, rattled off through the morning light. Day after day, we fired until the gun barrels were too hot to touch, our ears ringing from the shooting and the buzzing of the flies, our hands stinging from rock salt as we packed the meat. At night, we passed whiskey round and slept in drifts of feathers. The flock of millions became thousands, then hundreds, and so we trudged home behind our blood-stained wagons, done for the year, returning to the slow work of the farm, the passage of the pigeons, already of fading agitation. In the springs of later years, we would straighten to scan the sky, speculate that the flocks had flown to the distant moon, perhaps. And perhaps the country there was good, for the birds never returned, never again cast their shadows across our farms, the woods, the world. A few years ago, I paid a visit to my old college roommate, who lives in Wyoming now, and we took a day-long canoe paddle down the Upper Platte River. And this is about that day. A day on the Platte. Paddling the slow river through flat country took us all of a long day. There were no bridges to pass, only one silent trestle, rusted iron, great concrete pillars, abandoned for many years, you said. From time to time, the cottonwoods gathered on the shallow banks, gray and green, their broken limbs casting misshapen clouds of shade. More often, there were only reeds, mounded grass, and sky. Our talk flared and died down, was of old times, old follies, ambitions we had forgotten, but seeing each other, remembered. It was strange to speak your words and learn that only in my memory did they live. Mile and mile, bend after bend, we came upon a great heron who took heavily to the air, flapped slowly away with no look back. Again and again before us he flew, always leaving, but never gone. Probably some of you, like me, watch those wildlife cams, on the internet that you can watch the lives of animals. And many of them are on the nests of bald eagles, or at least several of them are. And I watch one of those, and this poem is about that. It's called Eagle Cam. For tenderness, the eagle is given claws. For tenderness, the eagle is given a hook. And so she puts murder aside, flies to the nest, with each wing beat more mindful of mercy, more ready for the sleep that is not sleep, the trance of incubation, all questions answered for a time. Hearing her approach through the air, the male wakens, stirs, shakes his feathers, and I also stir, 1,000 miles from the nest, throw open the window on my cluttered screen. There she alights, the great wings flaring to a stop, the male not yet risen, reluctant to surrender the eggs, to return to solitude, but she swaggers forward, and he must go. Above the eggs now, she delicately lifts and settles her toes, sheaths talons in nest, reaches forward with blade of beak. I hold my breath, gently rolls each egg, ensuring that all is correct, then lowers herself with adjustments of wings and tail, small gestures of comfort and protection, until at last she relaxes into immobility. As a baby, you lay on my chest, your small weight no burden, sending all questions away. I watch the eagle in its snow-edged nest, remembering those hours when I slept but did not sleep, when all my sins were set aside, when my hooks and claws only held you close and tenderly. And sometimes I write poems about current events, and this poem, although it was written quite a few years ago, unfortunately, is now very topical because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has just finalized a plan, approved a plan to kill as many as 400,000 barred owls over 30 years in an effort to protect the endangered spotted owl. And this poem is about that. It's called Killing Barred Owls. For a moment, we regard each other. You, the well-upholstered citizen, surrounded by your possessions, at ease in the good, quiet woods, enjoying the ownership you have fought for and won. I, thin in the arms, thick in the middle, hatted, coated, booted, gun-bearing, briefly triumphant, thinking not of you, but of the other, the shy, the threatened, the absent, until our large brown eyes meet, and then I squeeze the trigger and you explode like a burst pillow. And it takes a long time for all the feathers to settle, for my ears to stop ringing. The space you filled now empty, available, if there was only a spotted owl to fill it. This is the way we want it. We want it like it was before we did everything that we did. So now, this is our plan to do this, I guess, forever. So to lighten the mood a little bit, this one, I had a career working in wildlife crime fighting, actually, wildlife forensics, and we had a wonderful library in the laboratory in Ashland where I worked, which had many reference books on how to identify all the creatures that came across our laboratory table to be identified. And perusing that library, this title caught my eye and resulted in this poem. The American Standard of Perfection is the title of a book about, here a pause must be left for conjecture, for anticipation. Chickens. Not chickens in the world, clucking, strutting, scratching, but chickens in the mind, the ideal of each form and breed, such as the Jersey Giant, a super heavy market fowl, its breast broad, deep, full, carried far forward. the non-bearded, crested Polish with its large, cavernous nostrils, the shamo of the cruel expression, much like a bird of prey, the rotund sultan with a full crest, muff, and beard combined with vulture hocks, the white-faced black Spanish, whose white face and earlobes should be developed to be attractive, but not of grotesque proportions. Here are the rules, plain, strict, and fair. To judge your perfection, you need only read this book, take a long, honest look in the mirror, and be a chicken. So these are a couple from my first collection, Cascade Siskiyou. These were all written actually in the Cascade Siskiyou National Monument, which is a piece of protected land on the Oregon-California border near Ashland that I've been involved with working to protect for many years. It was made a national monument in 2000 by President Clinton as a result of our efforts. And this is about the madrone tree. I don't think madrones are as common up here as they are in southern Oregon, but I hope you're familiar with the tree, its smooth bark and graceful form. Madrone dance. No tree standing still moves as you move. No limbs so bare, so sleek, so suited for the dance. You crouch and stride, balance and curve, arms aloft. The art of gesture is yours, all yours. And the pines stand around you, stiff with scandalized admiration. O madrone, dance now, dance as never, dance up the mountainside, fast and faster than ever you have done. Use the birds, all of them, the flocking robins and the waxwings, the starlings and the thrushes. In these hot days, burst with berries. Send them far and wide, send them always higher. Find that place, wherever it is gone, still cool, but below the hardest cold. Dry, but above the cracking earth. The time has come to run. You, madrone, cannot run. So, dance. And no issue is more on everyone's mind in the Pacific Northwest these days than wildfire. So I've written a fair number of poems talking about that. This is one of them called Fire Ecology, and it references drilling cores into trees to chart the history of burns and preserved in the rings of the tree. Fire ecology. My hope is that we burn cold. The best to be hoped for is that we do not consume all, that more than ash remains after our passing. I mean, after this burn and before the next, recurrence being the law. Drive the auger into the bowl, hand over hand, clockwise, against the fight of the grain, the squeak of the wood. Draw out the core with care. Read there black lines among the blonde rings, scars that tell other stories. The year of the drought, the year of the broken heart. That death, and this one here, and this one, the finger tracing, father, sister, friend, black rims building beneath fingernails, at each footfall, gray dust rising. Fire will come. Let it not be wild. Let something remain. Seeds, children, streams in their beds, and here and there, lonely but alive, the great old speaking to the wind. And these are recent poems. This one was written in Redwoods National Park, and it includes several words in the Hoopa language, the Native American language of the Hoopa tribe that was native to that region and still is there, of course. And I am completely incapable of pronouncing these words, so I apologize, but that's part of the point. It's called Burden of Words. All day I carried Seamus Heaney on my back, his collected poems, 1966 to 1996. Through the redwoods, the long trail from the Godwood Creek Ridge to the sea. Who else, I thought, could teach the words I would need for the measureless trees, the moss-green silence, the work the wren's song does in that silence, words for the nurse logs, the bowl-splitting burned scars, the snags pointing their fingers at the sky. But in the end, the poet remained in my bag. His incantations to the bogman and the spade, unvoiced, earthed within the shuttered pages. Another world, a great one, but another. This world, here, should be sung in a native tongue, not his and not mine, our discordant English. Chwach keoch, kitong tichotach, mijeh chosian, Hoopa for redwood and wood sorrel and banana slug, big yew and leaf sour and plenty of slime. Words I can find but cannot speak. So I'm left standing in the fern-dark canyon, my ragged cloak of fog pierced by distant light, heavy with the burden of words carried, the impenetrable dictionaries of silence. And here's another one that's about a topical issue. As most of you know, the 4 great dams on the Klamath River have been removed in this past year, allowing the river to flow free through much more of its length than ever before, or well, in many, many years, removing barriers for salmon. And it's less than an hour from where I live, so I've been down there many times to check on the progress of the recovery of the river. And this is called Klamath Resurrection. When the dams rose, the river did not die, but lost its body, became spirit, haunting the slack-water depths of the lakes, invisible beneath the dull skin of surface. For those long years suspended, adrift, it awaited the touch of resurrection, the returning salmon barred behind a locked door, while a new rabble stirred the helpless warmth, bullhead and perch and pumpkin seed, soft-bellied and sleepy in the stillness. Now, just now, the iron gates broken, the river is gasping back to life, moving again time-withered muscles, reaching blind, careful fingers, retracing its path through the canyon of mud, remembering curve by curve its body, its purpose, to move without stopping, to dance with the shapes of the land, to keep its ancient promise, to welcome the salmon and meet the sea. And I work every now and then on a series of what I call bodhisattva poems, which are poems of gratitude for various aspects of the world, from the air to the water to fire to many different species of plants and animals. And this is the most recent one I've written, one of the more difficult thankfulness poems I've written, entitled Bodhisattva Poison Oak. A good practice to find the words to thank you, gratitude for gifts given, though not to us. Easier for me than others I know, your touch only a mild irritation, the warm red lumps temptation rather than torture, the itch a furtive pleasure to scratch. But let us all be grateful for the mindfulness you require, the attention to the three-lobed leaves along the path, for how you sometimes turn vine, climbing into the oaks, threading autumn blood red through summer green, for the glossy shelter you give birds in spring, for the dry white berries you offer in the fall. On summer hillsides, for your stubborn persistence when cattle have cropped every other plant to the ground. But most of all, we give thanks for how, at a certain elevation, having marked us, having made us look, you withdraw, and grant us the freedom to be grateful for freedom at last from you. And I'm going to close with this one, which appeared in the great journal Windfall, which we miss very much, a number of years ago. It's called Testament. All is not broken. The wind still untangles the flowers and the grasses of the pasture lands. The dusky sky some days fills with birds that glide and wheel before the night. In the streams are fish, breathing the water in contentment, and butterflies can still be found in the forgotten lot, flirting their wings above the slivered glass. There is still a path that leads away. There are groves of trees, mountainsides, corners, caves, hollows, places to be unseen, wild in your silent thought. There is a freedom to be had in the simple turn, the outward look, the step into the other world of wind and grass and stream and bird, where life passes on, unbroken. Thanks.
Thank you, Pepper, and thank you, Juniper. Wasn't that wonderful? That was very good. Pepper's got some books back there to sale, and we have some broadsides back there. We have some cookies back there. We have 2 sign-up sheets. One is for the open mic, and one is for the mailing list. So if you want to get on the mailing list, sign up on that list. If you want to read the open mic, sign up on that list. So we'll take a couple minutes, buy some books.
Are you also going to say that's not you're on Facebook?
What's that?
People can friend you on Facebook, right?
Yes, we have a Facebook, we have a Salem Poetry Project Facebook page as well. So anyway, we'll take a couple minutes, eat all the cookies so I don't have to, and we'll come back to the mic afterwards.